I thought I'd do a little video about change. And we all know about the stories of the butterfly. It's almost what's the word? Destiny, whatever. That certain things will change over time. I mean, the butterfly, for example, it'll hatch out of a caterpillar. It'll hatch into a beautiful butterfly, but in real life, it's not always quite as positive. It's sometimes very, very damaging. One of the biggest issues is psychological damage, because young people are very influential, especially at a young age. If you put people in a situation, for example, where information is inaccurate or false, it can actually distort people's perceptions on reality, and it can also change them fundamentally at a very deep level, to a point where their congruence, their natural instinct of what is real and solid to them in the physical world is an illusion. It's not based on actual fact. It's a perception of made up of many falsehoods, many belief systems which are not congruent with other people's congruence. So what happens is you create division between different personalities, different people's realities. So if you was to put these people who all have a different childhood, different experiences, a different background in growing up, if you put all these people in one room, they're going to find problems with each other. It's inevitable. It's destined to be conflict, because I think another analogy is a mushroom, right? If a mushroom grows in a nice dark damp place, then the mushroom is never going to be happy growing up or flourishing in any other kind of environment other than a dark, dank place. So somebody comes along and says, why do you want to live here? To the mushroom. And the mushroom says, this is my home. And the butterfly will probably say to the mushroom, yeah, but don't you want to be free? Don't you want to fly in the sun and fly around and enjoy the beauty of nature and hop between all the flowers? And the mushroom will say, I can't do those things. And the butterfly will say something like, why can't you do those things? Have you ever tried? And the mushroom says, no, because I am a mushroom. I'm not a butterfly, I'm a mushroom. And the butterfly said, okay, all right, you're a mushroom. And then the butterfly said, well, how do you know, really, that you are a mushroom? How do you know? And the mushroom says, well, because that's all I know. I don't know anything else. That's all I know. I was born here. I grew up here. I've never stepped out of this area. I've always been here. And the butterfly said, okay, right, all right. So you've never actually tried to experience the big wide open world? And the mushroom says, no. Why would I? And I said, well, can't you try? I said, why should I? I don't want to try. This is my place. Go away. The mushroom says, go away to the butterfly. Just bug off. The mushrooms and the butterfly said, oh, this is a great start, isn't it? This is a great start. I thought we were making progress. The mushroom says, well, yeah, you think that. You might think that, but I'm not happy about talking about you fluttering around and jumping from flower to flower and all this. I'm happy being where I am, so go away. So, that's an analogy, right? So you got this situation with people actually growing up in different schools. We could talk about the schools being from the 1940s, the 1950s, 1960s even, right? Now, you get those people who grew up in a school system in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, and you plonk them, if you were able to add a time machine and you could travel through time to, say, 2025 or 2020 or even 2019 or 2010, whatever, right? And you stick two people from those two different areas into one room, you're going to have the same problem, because they're going to be speaking different languages, they're going to have different interests, the person from, say, 1940s is going to be talking about morality and courtesy and respect, and also talking about what's right and wrong and what's decent. And the person who's grown up in the modern times, in 2019, 2020, whatever it is, they're going to say, what are you talking about? I don't even know what the hell you're on about. Why should I respect anyone? Oh, fuck them, like, I don't give a shit about them. Why don't you mind your own bloody business? Don't tell me what to think and what to do. Right. So we've got this. It's called a culture clash. That is the terminology. It's a culture clash. It's not racist or anything like that. It's a culture clash because there's two different cultures have grown apart. So how do people in the future, how can they be damaged to a point? How can they be de-evolved? If there's instead of evolving to a civilized, caring, compassionate society, instead of that, how can they actually be devolved into the point where they don't care about anybody except themselves, and they're actually they're into graffiti, sticking out their own messages? Oh, we've got to put my own messages up on the wall because nobody else will listen to me. So the graffiti is a vent. It's a way of expression, because no one wants to listen to them, because everybody's got a different message. But occasionally you get maybe quite a few people, a group, who are all born at the same time, it's in the 2015, 2020, whatever. And they've all got a common cause. And then the graffiti seems to make sense. They can stick it up on the wall because no one's going to argue with it, and everyone says, oh yeah, I agree with that. But then you get someone from the 1940s come along and say, what the hell is all this garbage on the wall? What are they on about? It doesn't make sense. It does not compute. That's because we're talking about two different species in a way, because you are what you are exposed to basically through life. As you grow up, you become, it's called the becoming, as in the programming. It's not just language, it's the education system, it's the psychological effects that you experience in your life, you're growing up. And people from the 40s and 50s and 60s will have a completely different perception of the world compared to someone in the more future. And they can't get along because it's like they're talking two different languages. So part of that is the reason why most of the elderly people just want to keep to themselves, because they can't communicate with the younger generation anymore, because there's no common ground. There's no honour, no respect. There's a lot of selfishness in the modern society. People just take what they want. That's why the crime rates are going through the roof. And then there's another aspect to all this. You see, the modern times brought about what was called television. It wasn't so bad with radio, because you had to use your imagination. And your imagination was based on your inner congruence, so you could create in your own mind, based on your experience from your own time period. It was like a check thing. It was like checked with your inner checks and balances with your inner soul, your inner person. But TV was different. It put things in your mind that shouldn't be there. It uses images. It was suggestive, much more suggestive. There was subliminal messaging, which distorted how people thought about things in real life. I mean, advertisements, for example, Coca-Cola, we were constantly bombarded with advertisements all the time. And when you're exposed to something that's repetitive over and over again, it actually becomes a program in your mind. It becomes inset. It becomes like automation. So you can be walking along the street. I'll use another analogy, right? Well, it's not really an analogy. It's something that happens a lot. Two people walking along the street. They've both been exposed to advertising over and over and over and over again, and they've all seen the Coca-Cola advert. I've got nothing against Coca-Cola, by the way. Coca-Cola's fine. I drink it myself. In fact, I've got some here right now. Yeah, right. So you're walking on the street with someone, and there's a Coca-Cola machine, and the guy sees it. Who's walking, talking to his friend. He's not even thinking consciously about getting a drink, a Coca-Cola, whatever. But he's seen the advertisement that many times that he doesn't even have to ask the question, oh, what is this? Is this a drink? Or is this what is this? No, he didn't have to think that at all, because it's been programmed into him. And so they're having a conversation, these two people. And they're walking past this Coca-Cola machine, and the guy goes up to it without thinking, puts his money in, because he knows he's thirsty, because it made him think he was thirsty. So puts his money in the machine, gets his Coke can out, pulls the tab off, starts drinking the Coke. He's not even thinking about it, he's just drinking it, right? It's automatic, like autopilot. And he carries on conversation with his buddy, and then his buddy might suddenly realise and think, oh, you get a Coke? Yeah, why? I just got it off that machine back there. Oh, I missed that, I wasn't looking. Yeah, because you were talking a lot. I'm going to go and get one myself. Okay. And he goes back and gets a Coke. But you see, the guy never thought to actually say to his buddy, oh, do you want to get a Coke? Because it was automatic. It was just, he got one. So there are things that happen to us that puts us in a state of autopilot. Like, let's call it muscle memory. Some people call it muscle memory. But there's other things. There are other things that are very, very dark, very sinister, very harmful. And I really don't want to talk about sex on my YouTube channel, but you know about that, don't you? So if I just use the hush word as that, right? So people in the 40s and 50s and 60s, it was not something you openly spoke about, the hush word, you know. It was something that was kept in the closet. It was private. But now it's everywhere. Oh, people want to do it. They want to do the hush word in the bus stop. They want to do the hush word on the back seat of a car. Yeah, it's everywhere. But it's got worse. It used to be okay, all of that. But now it's distorted now. People no longer want to be human. They want to become animals. It's like they're degrading back into some historical animal sort of instinct. And it's been drilled into them by some sort of mind control. It might be subliminal, or it might be right out in the open. What is it that's done this to people? I think we've got a generation or several generations that have grown up with cartoons. People with human voices on an animal avatar is going to confuse the young mind, because they grow up watching cartoons and they're hearing these voices that are human voices coming out of these animals, and they've started to identify as being an animal. And we've seen that everywhere in Second Life, actually. I couldn't believe it, how many, and they call them the furries. And I thought, when I first saw this, I thought, you know, obviously it's been going on for a long time, but it's escalating. It's out of control. People hate themselves. People hate their human identity. They've actually started to repel and self-identify as something other than what they really are. And I was trying to think, what's going on here? This is a severe mental dystopian kind of reality that these people have adopted on themselves because they hate themselves so much. They actually hate their true selves. Or maybe they're just hiding inside this animal, this whatever it is they choose. It's a lion or a donkey or a giraffe or a bat. I could not understand it, you know. It's not, I'm the person who's from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And it makes absolutely no sense to me. But it's considered normal to identify as whatever you want now. And I'm like, yeah, right. Can I identify as a car door? Because people have been slamming me all my life. and pushing me around like a door. And you think, oh, the world's gone totally bonkers. So I think we've gone from butterflies, right, which used to be a really cool kind of analogy for moving from a caterpillar into a butterfly, which was something beautiful and nice to look at. And people have become mushrooms, basically. Because they can't see the other part of the world. They can't see it anymore. They've literally grown up in a situation where they can't see anything else apart from their past experiences, and they've become mushrooms because they can't see what's happened to them. They can't see it because they can't see anybody else's perceptions because they've never experienced it, and they can't see themselves in a mirror even, really. Anyway, I just thought I was humorous, funny, whatever, but take it how you want. But all I'm really talking about here is psychological. It's human beings are extremely easy to damage. Children are easy to damage. Kids, our children are being damaged. And it's everywhere. I just feel so sad. I am so heartbroken to see how people are devolving from what the Creator gave these people at birth that they would want to now disregard who they really are and pretend to be something completely alien and false. You know, it does not make no sense to me at all. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going because I don't know what else I can say, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying. Bye for now. I'm trying to time my freaking camera.